one of the answers that I got very frequently on my Fairy Tail Strongest Characters list is that actually a lot of people would start talking about, no, it's Acnologia. Acnologia the Dark King, Acnologia the Dragon King, Acnologia. And well, since there's a lot of Acnologia fans out there that want to talk about, this entire video today is going to be absolutely dedicated to Acnologia and why I don't think he's as strong as he is, or as used to be. But before we even get into that, we need to know about Acnologia. Who is Acnologia? Well, out of the current stuff that we know, we do know that he's over 400 years old and took place during the Dragon Silver War, which is a war between the dragons that with ones that wanted to use them as livestock as they used to all those years ago, and also the ones that wanted to coexist with humans, a la the dragons that we know like Metallicana, Ski Drum, Weisslogia, and Dragon King Igneel himself. And they decided to teach like human beings some Dragon Slayer magic so they can get the upper hand in the war itself. However, there was very corrupt and power hungry people inside them as well, knowing that they actually turned against the dragons that actually gave them the powers, and the one such Dragon Slayer actually bathed in so much blood, in dragon blood, that he actually became the Dragon King himself. And this particular being that we know is Acnologia, the Dragon King, or also known as the Black Apocalypse. And we've already seen what Acnologia can do with one massive roar. He can blast an island to absolutely nothing. When you've seen him go against Igneel, taking down the Dragon King of Fire himself. Although the Dragon King of Fire was in a weakened state, even though at this point he still managed to take out of one of Acnologia's arms. Now this is probably the biggest thing that you come into this like, oh, that's probably the main reason why he's a lot weaker, is because he's missing the arm. Technically, that is one of the reasons why he's going to be a lot weaker than he actually is compared to, like, other characters. It's kind of curious to see, like, if he did have both his arms at this point, since, you know, you need an arm to use for those magics, not to mention as well for offense and defense. If he's only got one arm to offensively attack, and from what we've seen of Acnologia, he's definitely not a character that definitely uses any kind of blocking kind of techniques. He isn't very defensive, and he seems to just go out in an all-out flurry and crazy suit and all that, and definitely seems like that he's not affected at all by Xerath's magic. Mainly because Xerath's curse is mainly affected by things that he actually cares about. So when he saw Natsu again for like so many years ago, he absolutely lost it with his powers and actually began loving things. And of course, since he doesn't love Acnologia, since he's an absolute stain on the world, then yeah, he has no real call, and that's why like Xerath is basically at a stalemate with him, because Acnologia can't kill him, and on the other side of the spectrum, Xerath can't do anything with the curse against him because he absolutely loathes this dragon, although promising him to give him a final bout that he actually deserves, thinking that now he has the final chance to take him down using the Fairy Heart. Now, I think a lot of people that always say, like, why he's so strong is because he's done a lot more insane feats compared to, like, other characters like Xerath. Like, the only stuff that we've seen that take Xerath down, he's taken down a weakened down Hades, he's taken down Zancro, which aren't as big as, like, what Acnologia has gone on a murderous dragon rampage and killed the main character's father figure for all these years. I think that's a little bit more of a higher up stake than what like Xerath has done so far in the series in terms of taking out opponents. And then do we even have to mention as well that he just one-shotted God Serena like it was nothing. So he's definitely on a hunt for the rest of the Dragon Slayers as we know, because they are the only threats to him that he actually has to go against. Like, talking about these threats, he does have the Fairy Heart, which is infinite magic that can just keep hitting him down. And not to mention as well, the only thing that we really know at this point that can even take Xerath down is basically using the curse against him, or even so, using something like Fairy Heart to even try and attempt to take him down, or even Natsu's Dragon King mode. The way it looks like Xerath is a lot more of a foe harder to kill than Acnologia is right now, even with his handicap. Now, there was a lot of talk as well about basically about Acnologia as well, saying like he's actually Natsu's father from all those years ago. He's actually his biological father. Now, I don't know if that's actually true or not. From what we've been seeing, like Xerath actually does seem to have no attention or their interest in him whatsoever, and he has seen him in his human form as well. So he would have known and would have said something about him like being his father. So I doubt that's honestly the case, since Xerath and Natsu are blood brothers, and I think he would have said something at that point. So I think that really denotes that theory that someone had for a while. It was a very interesting theory, but now that we've learned so much about Natsu, and not to mention as well with like Acnologia and even still with Xerath, yeah, I think that like theory is kind of out of the water right now, but it was still a very nice theory, whoever said that in the comments. Plus, I've seen that theory running around like the internet for a while, so it was definitely interesting. And don't get me wrong, this video isn't slacking off Acnologia. God damn it, I love the guy, I absolutely do. But I feel like when you compare him to stuff like what we've seen already for like Xerath and all that, I definitely think he has a few more weaknesses weaknesses than what we've seen in any other fairy tale villain. I mean, there's just like so many countermeasures. The only problem is how to execute them, and not to mention you've got to execute before you get executed yourself. Although we did see Zereth like kind of get his last opportunity to die thanks to Natsu since his Dragon King mode ran out. I believe Natsu will still have something up his sleeve, either that or he will kill himself to take down Zereth. Like, something of that matter will probably happen. Whether or not Natsu will die in the series or not, that there depends. I don't want to go into too spoilers with Wraith Master, but there was definitely one arc that kind of a certain situation happened like that. Not really an Anchor curse, but certain events happened into there. But if we look so far what exactly the Dragon King himself, Acnologia, has done, we've seen him do some impressive things, like take someone's complete ribcage out with one hit. Not to mention as well blowing the island off with a single roar. We don't know too much about his human form capability, whether or not he keeps his speed, his strength in that form. I highly doubt it. I believe like the actual dragon form is his strongest point from when we get to see him, and he mainly just has that as his resting point or not even trying. Albeit I say that him turning into a dragon is kind of like a full version of Dragon Force. Like Dragon Force is pretty much tapping into that unattained power that they've had so far, where they're pretty much getting a bit of the dragonized form inside of them, and that's why you see Natsu with the scales, and Igneel was holding that back all this time. Probably why we don't see Natsu that very much often go into a full version of the Dragon Force, and not, mind you, where we never really saw him like that. But then mind you, like, out of everyone, it seems like had the easiest time going into Dragon Force mode probably would be Gargiel. Like, even from like the second season from the series, from what we saw for Phantom Lord stuff, he was very easily able to go into that at a very short time, and it took Natsu going and having some Ethelano inside of his body, not to mention the Flame of Rebuke, the stuff to even activate it. But then that also could be like Igneel actually holding Natsu back and trying to prevent him going to Dragon Force, because maybe he's out of all of them, he's the easiest one that can actually go into Dragon Force because of the untamed power. But definitely it's a very interesting discussion, all that. I'm kind of curious to see what you think about Acnologia down below. I know you got a lot of Acnologia fanboys in there, and if you have any suggestions want to talk about next week, then I'm very interested to see if you have any suggestions, and I might even do a video on it. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you definitely want to have a look at some other Fairy Tail videos, I really recommend seeing the actual Fairy Tail Strongest Character video, which that is heavily underrated, and I put a lot of goddamn effort in that video, so please go and check that one out. There'll be a link somewhere down below, you know, and if you want to hit subscribe, you know, that'll be very nice. I really love that. So thank you very much for watching as always, and I'll catch you Fairy Tail fans next time.